My name is Girija Pandey. Some of you who have gotten an email from me, I asked you to bring few things. Pen and notebook. There's one more thing I had to ask you to bring. What was that?
A smile.
Sense of humor. Can I see where is that? Okay. I hope you have it. We would need it today. Yes, very good. When I was very small, my mom tells I was a very quiet kid. And she was relieved to know that. Because my elder brother, when he was small, he was a handful. He had swallowed coins. He had stuck in his head in a fence where he got stuck. So when I was born, after some time, if she kept me somewhere, she would find me half an hour later right there. What that also meant that I was very shy. And once we grew up, my elder brother and I had this conversation. Who is the funnier person? Who is the funnier person? And we didn't settle that debate. I'll tell you about that later. But what my mom did not know, that one day I'll move to another country, enjoy Putin, and conduct a humor workshop. And today is the day to welcome everybody to this workshop. I really sincerely hope that you will, with your sense of humor, with my knowledge, you will learn something today, and we are going to learn something together. Who here likes spice in their food? Some people say no, but they don't realize that black pepper is also a spice, and they like black pepper. In my opinion, humor is like spice of communication. You add a little bit, it becomes interesting. But does that mean if you did not like or know about spices, tomorrow you will start enjoying spicy food? Maybe not. What we are going to do today is going to start learning about that spice and appreciate it a little more. And then maybe one day you can try it a little bit, and then your communication becomes more spicy. Let's talk about the agenda for today. We are going to talk about what is humor, how to find humor, where to find humor, how to write humor, and how to present humor. Before I talk about all that, let me tell you I'm not alone. I have a co-facilitator. This guy, his name is Grumpy Gruff. He has come from the mountains. I will let him introduce himself. Can you help him introduce by pressing from top? A little bit more. Grumpy Gruff is going to be with us during the workshop and going to give his comments for us. Very valuable comments. Before we talk about what is humor, simplest question, why humor to begin with? Who here has ever talked to an audience which is very new to them? Can with a show of hand? Okay, Barbara, I have a question for you. Suppose you are in front of that audience. I'm going to describe what the state of that audience is going to be, and you need to tell whether yes or no. So you want your audience to be casual about you. Yes or no?
Yes.
You want them to be hostile towards you?
No.
No. You want them not to like you?
No.
No. Instead, you want your audience to be engaged, interested, open to your ideas, and maybe like you as well. Liking is very important. We cannot laugh with people whom we don't like. The reverse is also true. People with whom we laugh, we like them subconsciously. That's where humor comes into picture. If you want your audience to like you, to pay attention to your message and be open to your new ideas, you want humor. It's like a superpower. And not just there, in your conversation, at your work, in your presentation, you want to bring more flavor. That's where you can use humor. But if that all is true, do we always use humor enough? Yes or no?
No.
So let's talk about what are some of the challenges in using humor. Why do we not use humor? I need probably 4 to 5 people tell about why do we not use humor? What are the challenges in using humor? Anyone? So what I heard is like confidence, a part of it, and then shared understanding is what I heard. I'm paraphrasing it, shared understanding. Alright, who else can tell me what are some of the challenges in using humor? A very good point. It is different understanding. This is shared understanding versus different understanding, somewhere in the same similar category. Appropriateness, fear of not sounding funny, not being funny. I hope you guys remember this by the end of it. I'm not sure if I can read my own handwriting. We'll try that. And we'll come and look at these challenges, how we can overcome these. Before that, I want to address one important perception, skill versus talent. You would have heard there are people who have a lot of talent in humor. They're extraordinarily talented, beyond measure. Take me for example. Thank you. However, it is a skill as well. And that skill we can learn. That's what I'm here to help you learn today. And what Uche you touched upon, there's a very important component of humor. Humor's effect is binary. What is meant by that? You never have a misunderstanding of my humor worked or not. It either failed or it really worked very well. You can get the response immediately. People laugh and you're like, wow, I did some wonderful work. Or people look at you. Why are you trying to confuse us? That's the look you get on their face, and in that moment you feel embarrassed. And we don't want that embarrassing feeling. That's why we don't attempt humor so often. The fear of failure, the binary reason for humor not working. What does Grumpy Gruff has to say? Right? He agrees. Now let's come to the core of what is humor. What comes to your mind when you think about humor? Stand-up comedy. Probably you remember Charlie Chaplin. You might have seen mimicry from some artists. Or knock-knock jokes. Why did the chicken cross the road? All these are different type of humors. And that's what we are going to look at. There's not one particular element what makes humor. It's about you can look at humor differently. But at the core of it, humor is the intentional attempt to make others laugh. Humor is the intentional attempt to make others laugh. If making others laugh is the intention, then how do you make people laugh? I'll give you three options. The first is request them. Can you please laugh? That won't work. Or if that doesn't work, you attempt the second technique, you try to tickle them. That definitely works, but don't try that. The third one, which actually usually works, is surprise them. Let's have a conversation. Can somebody be a volunteer to ask any question to me? I'm going to get into an exercise. Okay. Just change of rule. You can ask only one question and I tell you what the question is. The question you can ask me is, how are you?
How are you?
I'm fine. Is there any surprise in the answer?
Not really.
It's not surprising. You can ask that to me again.
How are you?
I'm not feeling good. Is there a surprise?
Yeah.
There is a surprise, but there's no humor. You can ask me again one more time.
How are you?
I'm really excited. I won a lottery. Is that surprising?
Yeah.
Still no humor. Even though you might be jealous that you did not win the lottery. Thank you, Yash. Just surprise won't create humor. What you need with surprise is misdirection. Something which you did not expect, which changes the meaning of what you are thinking about it. At the same time, it's something awkward, odd, which doesn't belong there. Somebody who has a teen at home might give their car for driving and the teen comes back and then you see outside the car is not in the driveway. That's surprising. What if the car is in the front lawn? It's a little bit humorous, as long as there is no damage to the property. That's what humor, a misdirection. You expect something to be somewhere, but it is somewhere where you never thought in general in life you will find it. That's what misdirection is. There is a sentence here on the board with fill in the blanks. Can everybody say it?
We are a big black family.
Just think of a word which comes here, and I'll need few volunteers to tell me what comes to your mind as the expected response. We are a big
Surprise.
surprise family.
Fat.
Fat family. Jack says we are a big fat family.
Very big toast family.
Sorry?
Toast family.
Toast family. We are a big toast family. Yes. You see, generally we are a big happy family is the phrase you will hear. But when Jack says we are a big fat family, there is a laughter here for some of us because we don't say that usually. It's something which you don't hear. And that's what humor has an element. You bring a comedic surprise to a situation, and usually it's about breaking a norm which exists in society, an ethical norm, a social norm, even a physical norm, which does not have repercussions. There's no real damage done. That's what creates humor in many cases. So humor can come from many directions. Let's take an example again. Imagine there is a patient in the doctor room, and the patient says, "Doctor, I'm really scared. It's my first operation." In real life, what would the doctor say? Don't worry,
We'll take care of you.
we'll take care of you.
Done it many times before.
Wonderful. That's what the doctor will say. What if the doctor said, "Don't worry, it is my first time as well"? You wouldn't want your actual doctor to say that. You would either faint or just run away in that moment. See, what you would not say, what is in some way taboo, which social situations don't allow you to say, you are letting it off. That's when things which are off the limit are funny. Stand-up comedians use that. They use material which you would not say, and that's another genre called dark comedy, where you think, say, extreme about death, about people who have some disability. You make fun of that. That's not what we are learning here, but the idea is still the same. Things you wouldn't say otherwise. Let's play a game. Who has heard of the game Broken Telephone? Okay, we are going to play the game. Let's hear what Nancy has. Pajamas, that's the one you have gotten. What do you have, Era?
Purple pants, jump in pajamas.
Purple pants, jump in pajamas. What do you have?
I have purple pandas.
Purple pandas popping in pajamas. John, what did you get?
That's what I said.
That's what you said. And this is what I said. And obviously it was missed there. Purple pandas prefer picking pineapples in pajamas.
First messenger.
You see, we all are laughing. There is no joke actually done. This is not what you will hear anywhere else. These are things which are so odd that they just make us laugh. If you try to analyze, that's a different situation, but that's what makes it funny. Before we talk about different type of humors, there's something really important I want to share with you. I talked about sense of humor in the beginning. What is sense of humor? How often do you laugh? What do you laugh on? Do you find things in life situations funny? And can you laugh at yourself? If somebody makes fun of you in a light spirit, can you laugh with them? These all together will become your sense of humor. Different people have different sense of humor. That is something I cannot change. I can tell you the skills of how humor can be created, how it can be appreciated, but your sense of humor is based on your personality. You can look at changing it, it's really up to you if you need that, but that's an important part of humor as well. And sense of humor is different. I want to give you an example. A few days back, I was walking around my apartment. Me and my wife go for evening walks, and there's so many trees, and looks like every tree has one squirrel. And the squirrel was just walking there, and if anybody has noticed, squirrels have a very funny way of walking around. They will go a meter and then they pause, and then they will go again. So my wife and looking at it, and I told my wife, see, these two interactions, I find this walk so funny, so cute, but what is the squirrel thinking? Squirrel is thinking, I'm going to die. It's just scared to death seeing somebody around. It's a different perspective. There is humor to be observed. Observation is a big part of humor. So sense of humor, you can work on it. What does Grumpy Guff has to say on the sense of humor? It agrees. Now let's talk about where to find humor. We want to write humor, we want to be humorous. Where to find humor? How about starting with yourself? Our life can be a great source of humor for one good reason, that if you create humor on yourself, nobody gets offended. You can say things about you and nobody can say, oh, you can't say that. Yes, you can. You can say it for yourself. That's a good place to start. Also remember that nobody laughs at a perfect life. Everything is great. What is there to find fun in that? People laugh at the absurdities of life, imperfections of life. That's what we have. Think about what makes you different in a new place, new context, new situation. Where are you an outsider? These all can give you inputs on what makes things funny. Or maybe what is weird about you. That all can tell you where you can find humor. I want to give 4 categories through which you can look at material to find humor. The 4 categories. One is emotion. Think about what do you like, what do you love, what do you hate, absolutely hate. You would hear this question many times. Are you a cat person or a dog person? What if I said neither? I'm fed up with this question. That's what you can create humor. So look at your emotion, observe what you like, what you hate can be a source of creating humor. Or differences. What has changed in your life? Probably you are a big concert fan, you went to many concerts and now you are no more interested in that after 20 years. And you might say, if I had saved the money which I had spent on concerts, I might have had a down payment for my home. It's the difference, who you were before and who you are now. You are able to make fun of that. Observing those differences, not just between in your life, you can compare the differences with somebody else. How are they different? And then you can use that for humor. We'll talk about how to use that to write humor in a bit, but these are sources to find material. This is one important or interesting part. Opinions, especially strong opinions. Here in Toronto, we talk about a lot of strong opinions. We have opinion on Canadian winter, camping, politics, taxes, tipping, squirrels, skunks, and we have a whole lot of things on which you have strong opinions. Somebody doesn't like winter, they can make fun of that. So you can find an observation from your strong opinions, and we'll look at examples of these in a bit. Kwan is not here, so I need to talk about one strong opinion he has. So Kwan says his relationship with camping and his first girlfriend is the same. He hates both. That's his strong opinion. He does not like camping, but that same idea can be added with something else to create humor. Another category where you can find humor is pain. There is a famous saying in comedy, pain plus time equals comedy. When enough time has passed, if something which made you miserable, you are in pain, you can laugh at it now, very much later. Somebody could say, during COVID, I was stuck at home and I'm glad it happened because both my bank balance increased and so did my weight. When that guy gained weight, obviously he's not going to say that, but now, looking back, you can make fun of that. So, something which was painful. At this point, we are going to get into a game, a small game to illustrate some other element of humor. The way everybody settled, I need, can we have a count from there, please? We have 28, we are going to have 7 teams of 4 each. The game is simple. I'm going to give you one word. Each team, I'm going to give you one word. Just, if you can see on the paper, there is one word and there is a space for another word. The second word is there, the first word is missing. Alright, everybody clear? Clear? Now we need to add one word, and that word should be something which doesn't fit there. Let me give an example. Anybody who has been in corporate might know there is a department or function called Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence, where people do great things, they want to improve. My wife's colleague one day said we need to create a center of mediocrity. We are going to add that first word which doesn't belong. Let me give you an example. If the word on your check was New Yorker, the word you might add patient New Yorker. We haven't met one. That's what you're going to do. You have a word, add something which is opposite to the stereotype that category has. Is it clear with everyone? Yeah. And as a group you can discuss. I'll give you 1 minute. It's not something that's going to take a lot. Whatever you find interesting, you can write down. So your time starts now. Everybody done? We are going to share those names, and remember that is the name of your team as well. I hope you have done a good job in that. No? Okay, I should have told that before. Alright, let's start from this side. Let's hear what your team name is.
Sonia came up with.
Oh, you are a team, you can't say Sonia. It's your team name.
So our team name is Farting Celebrities.
Parting Celebrities. Good. Wonderful name, yes. Great. Alright. Okay, you guys go next.
So we came up with cute gangsters.
Cute gangsters. Wonderful.
We are the shy rock stars.
Shy rock stars. Yeah, we have yet to meet one. Great.
Oh, Thin Americans.
Thin Americans. Thin Americans is there. Okay.
We're the spicy Canadians.
Spicy Canadians. Okay, wonderful. Great.
Silent bouncer.
Silent dancer. Yeah, silent and violent bouncers.
We are the trustworthy
in front of a club.
They are the trustworthy politicians. Great job, everyone. Give yourself a big round of applause for this activity. We'll refer to the exercise later in some of the techniques, but you see, just bringing two different ideas together sometimes can sound funny. You might not use all of this humor in your talk, but the idea is to understand humor. What we are going to do now is, I'm going to tell you some techniques of creating humor. And some of you might already know some of these. I'm going to do an example and then explain the technique. I'm from India. I met somebody who is not from India, and I told them that in India is the land of spices. And I said, we use a lot of spices in our food, and we cook at home. And he said, I know you use a lot of spices. I said, but you haven't tasted our food yet. He said, I know, because you smell of spices. This is a technique called self-deprecating humor. You make fun of yourself. Actually, it's a real incident, not the whole thing, but somebody, they smell spices, which is true. I do smell spices because we cook at home and it does come to us. So that is self-deprecating humor. Get the idea? You can make fun of yourself, and that might make people laugh if you have created the whole surprise in that. It comes at the end, surprise comes at the end. The next one is about what I talked about. Kwan first made fun of him and said, who is the most smart, more intelligent? Kwan. That's self-enhancing humor, where you show yourself in a greater light. I tried that in the beginning when I said some people have extraordinary talent in humor. For example, me. I don't have extraordinary talent, but it's a way I'm just trying to show you that I can talk about something great. In both this situation, if you see, there is one important aspect, something called exaggeration, where you show something bigger than they are. And humor has a big element of that enhancement. You don't say 5, you say 50,000. You don't say sad, you say I'm devastated. Because the more you enhance the feeling, the more humorous it can become. Normal life doesn't create humor. This is something I told before. I come to Toastmasters for 3 reasons: to listen to icebreakers, to deliver speeches, and to drink beer at St. Louis. This is called the rule of 3. You say one thing, normal. Second thing, normal, belong in the same category. Icebreaker, speeches. Third is the odd category, which people again are not expecting. I come to drink beer at St. Louis. You didn't expect that. I will talk. Your mind is conditioned to expect something related to a normal category. That is called a rule of 3. It's used in comedy a lot. I talked about exaggeration. My wife, she's very, very organized and structured when it comes to her phone. She keeps very, very maintainable set of data. One day I messaged her and I said, "Hey darling, how are you?" And she said, "Who the hell is this?" Because she deleted my contact. Now the fact is that she is very structured, organized, and she doesn't keep any contact. But did she really delete my contact? No, this is exaggeration. But the idea is still there. You can use it to tell people that they can laugh. Sometimes humor starts with truth. You don't look for humor element. You find what is true, and then you build upon that. What else can be true, or what can be an exaggerated version of that. We looked at this type of humor. What I'm going to tell in our team names. It's called finding something which is incongruent, incongruity, things which don't fit together. Two different ideas which don't go together. For example, we talked about honest politician or truthful politicians. Do we find truthful politicians? No, those are two ideas which don't fit together in our head, and when we put them together, they sound funny. Few months back in the table topics, John had talked about his experience walking on the Capilano Bridge in Vancouver. Does anybody remember? He talked about this suspension bridge in Vancouver when he was there and he was so scared. He saw his grandma zoom past, and we all laughed because that is a technique used as contrast. You compare two different things. It's not incongruity where you can't put things together. They just are contrasting, comparing things, which is a young person versus an old person, and she's running, which you don't expect, and then we found it funny. That's called contrasting, comparing two different things. And on the same joke, later I remember John was here and Amanda was sitting there, and her table topics was something, and she responded like this: everything will be fine in life. If John can survive the bridge, we can too. And we all laughed. Why? This is a technique called callback. Callback is once a joke, always a joke. Somebody has made fun of something or whatever they have said, and people have laughed, and you refer to that, people are again going to laugh. There is a shared understanding again. It happens a lot with friends. We have some inside joke, and we are in another group, and somebody says something, just because of one word we start laughing, and the other group says, "Why are you laughing? There is nothing funny." But you already have that common understanding of the joke. There is another type of joke which is called call the room, or refer to the situation here. Once I was general evaluator around 1.5 months back, and there were 3 speakers sitting here, and all were dressed up like how I am today. And I said, one benefit of being a speaker is that you get to dress up. And people found it funny. What that does is everybody has observed that somehow. The moment you call it out, people recognize that there is a pattern. Calling the room is something which happens right there in your environment, and then you can call it out and people find funny if there is some element there. And finally, one technique which I'll talk about. So this is what we ask our guests usually when they come in. "Oh, what brought you to Toastmaster?" And they answer. What if one guest said that, "Oh, I was looking for a social place to learn skills for drinking." And I've heard that so many times where people think that Toastmaster is a place to something to do with drinking because of the word toast. That is wordplay, where one word can have multiple meanings, and you can use both meanings to create humor. There are more. I'm not using jokes. I'm only sharing my experience. I have a lot more jokes on these examples. I can talk about it later if you are interested to know. So these are different techniques through which you can create humor.
My daughter thought it was a bread making workshop.
There it is. And somebody could use that to create humor. I go to learn making bread, right? But so that's the idea here. So these are different techniques. Now let's look at how do you write humor. How do you write humor? We are going to soon get into an exercise where we are trying to work on writing, and we'll see how it goes. Writing humor can be in different categories. I told you techniques, I told you what is the idea. Where can you start? you can start with your own life. As I said, what is weird about you? Can you find something? I have gray hair, I can make fun of them that I am growing old. My gray hair tell that how many wise decisions I have made in life. But I won't tell you that my black hair are my mistakes in life. You can find humor in your own situation, or you can talk about your strong opinions about something. I love going to restaurants. Last month when I looked at my expenses, I realized that half of my salary is going towards tipping. This is a joke I try to create. The idea is that something which really bugs you. Tipping bugs me because it's too much sometimes. You might have some problem with something else. Now, how do you write humor around that? You take that idea and then you write down some assumptions on that idea which are true. Why is tipping in our society? Because supposedly tipping is good, it helps people who are working there, and we are responsible for tipping. These are some of the assumptions around tipping as a topic. Does it make sense? These are basic assumptions. You can take one of the assumptions and you can reverse it. You can take opposite stand, which suits your strong opinion. I don't like tipping, so I say tipping is bad because it creates expenses for me. And now I can't say it creates expenses for me. That is not enough. Now we need to exaggerate it. We need to enhance it so that it can become a lot more funny. This is an example of how you can take something which bothers you and then you can convert into something humorous. Or especially in Toastmasters, we try to write speeches and we want to include something humorous there. This is one technique called voice A, voice B. Voice A is the one which is writing the speech, and voice B is which is providing a commentary on the speech. You write a speech and you say, oh, my girlfriend left me in that, and the voice B says, she was anyways not good for you. So somebody is making fun of that situation as if a third person. So that's voice A, voice B examples, and you can try this. There are no standard way of it will work for you right now. Once you practice it, it would come. These are some of the ways you can write humor. Once you have the material, you have written the humor, now it's time to deliver humor. Delivering humor conceptually is simple. There is a setup and there is a punchline. Right? All the jokes I've tried, I have set you up first, the way that you have an expectation of that situation, and then I change that expectation. I say something which will completely change the way you think about it, the meaning changes itself. And between there is a pause. Also remember that the punchline, the part which surprises the audience needs to come towards the very end, very, very end. If it comes earlier, if the surprise is not there, the same joke will not work. Take this for example. My grandmother started walking 5 miles every day when she turned 60. Now that she is 85, we have no idea where the hell she is. I'm going to repeat this joke, attempting with a little bit change. My grandmother started walking 5 miles when she turned 60. We have no idea where the hell she is now that she is 85. No more funny, because the surprise which was at the end, we had a context of, oh, we are talking about her health, she is better. That change, surprise has been given away too soon. That's what the punchline is. Push it as much as towards the end, and that is to do with writing, editing, crafting. So that's about crafting jokes. When you are delivering joke, first is that you need to pause after your punchline as well. Once you say it, give people permission to laugh. If you have tested the joke, you would know it works. You need to give them time to laugh. If you move on to your next line, even if people found it funny, if it was not a huge laugh, they are just going to feel that, oh, there is no reason to laugh here. Give them time to laugh. And even when they laugh, don't talk over that laugh. Just let that laughter die down, then you can continue. These are the ways you create engagement. And also, humor is so much about performance as well. The way you deliver. If I said that, now that my grandmother turned 85, we have no idea where the hell she is. It is funny, but not so funny. And you say, where the hell she is? There is an element of performance there. You give that cue to your audience that something different is there. You are not just telling it in your voice, your body, they can hear it. And if you watch stand-up comedy, you would have seen this. Comedians do that. They bring a different element of being on stage in that moment when they're delivering the punchline, not just using the words, with their voice, with their body. It's time for the group exercise. All of you have team names, wonderful team names. What we are going to do, we are going to attempt to write humor. Take a topic either on your, as I said, you can make fun of yourself, or you can take something which bugs you and then write assumptions and write opposite assumption, or if anything else you learned during the workshop or something came to your mind, this is the time to write down. And it's not to find a perfect joke, it's an attempt. We will take 5 minutes for this exercise, so get together with your team, share your ideas, think what you can laugh at.
Uche, you can do it.
And the best 2 jokes get chocolates. Who is up for the challenge? 2 teams, go ahead, time starts now. Which 2 teams are getting the chocolates?
You have less money because of taxes.
Okay, I thought we will vote, but
There's 2 wife jokes.
Oh, yeah.
which one we laugh the most at?
What's your team?
The Thin American.
Thin Americans.
Thin Americans.
Yes!
Okay, so one team has said thin Americans, you won't be thin anymore. Take this. Okay, one more. Which other we laugh the most at? A little bit. Again, there are only 2, but doesn't mean I won't get you more chocolates. You can always ask for more chocolates.
I think the new car or a
Yeah,
new wife.
New car, new wife?
Uh-huh.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Everybody participated. I don't think anyone would have thought that we would attempt at humor, and I know some of these ideas you might already have it, but it's about the thinking process. So great job everybody for participating. I want to talk to you about why humor does not work. It's important to know there are certain reasons if you do those, humor won't work. The first one is you haven't tested your joke or your humor. Because if you're speaking in front of a public, if you're part of a speech, you have workplace where you want to use some part of humor, test it with somebody, your friend, your family. You will get an idea. They will either chuckle, laugh, or just not give you a response. You can modify. That is one reason it won't work. We talked about the surprise in a joke. If you have given the surprise too soon, like in the grandmother joke, it won't work. Keep the surprise towards the end, very end. Or if you have not set up enough expectation, if the setup is not enough, or the defying of that setup, the expectation has not been defined enough, then the joke won't work. And finally, the most important part, you have not taken your audience into consideration. If I had to do this workshop and tell these jokes in some other place at my work, I can't talk about Toastmaster jokes. Nobody is going to laugh. Hardly anybody would understand. The point is you and your audience needs to have a shared understanding of the same idea. Universal concepts will make people laugh. If I tell a skunk joke back in a country where there are no skunks, they won't really relate to it. And that is why jokes for wives, relationship, mother-in-laws work universally. There is universal experience people have of those. Keep that in mind. Have a shared understanding. Humor does not cross cultures for that very reason. What are some of the final tips? What is the worst nightmare of somebody who is attempting humor? That humor does not work. And if you have tried it, you know that it happens. It won't work someday. What you don't want to do is try to explain your humor. Explaining a joke or humor is like dissecting a frog. Nobody enjoys it. The frog dies in the process. Nobody can explain what humor is. So you either get it or you don't get it. Don't try to explain it. Just move on as if it is your secret and you want it to be the way. That's the attempt part of it. If you try enough times, you have tested your joke, you will make it work. Also, while telling a joke, have fun. Be animated. If you are, people will see that you are smiling, you are having fun, and unless your joke has a different intent, create that sense of you are enjoying being there, and that would add to your availability. Now, what if you really can't write humor? That's all right. You can always pick somebody else's content. You can find a joke which suits your content, and you can attempt that. You can at least smile when somebody makes a joke. You can laugh. You can observe what makes things funny, and that's a slow process. For different people, the learning curve would be different. The idea is finding your sense of humor, laughing, smiling, finding humorous content when you go out in the world. Observe what makes things funny. Now is the time for all of you to ask questions. If anything which we have talked about so far, something else which comes to your mind, yes madam, that's the point. You would want to test it on somebody who is a Toastmaster. Then find a friend. Rather than explaining the whole context of Toastmaster is almost impossible, let's try it with a Toastmaster, because you know that is your audience. You want to call up somebody and say, hey, there is a joke I want to try. And then you make sure your audience understands the same vocabulary which you are trying to use. Great question, thank you. Either you have understood everything or nothing. I would use humor to get people's attention or get them engaged. We ask questions to engage people. Humor could be one of those. However, it should be something which fits the category of the topic you are using. You don't want to use humor where you are actually going to talk about the serious part. Because if your topic is on a serious stuff, that will not be your whole speech. You will do the setup, you will tell stories, and then you will come to the part where you are saying this is important. You don't want to use humor there, definitely, because that will take away the seriousness you are trying to create. But you can always use it part of your stories. Or humor doesn't mean you make them laugh, burst out laughter. You can make them smile. It's about bringing them more into your speech, creating a more levity-based environment. So I would say it can be used, however, not in the part which has serious message. Yes. What you are highlighting is one element that a joke which works once might not work in a different audience. That's one
Definitely,
element.
yeah.
So it does not mean that what is humorous is always humorous. It depends on the context. And so you cannot be sure that what worked today will work always. And that's about trying that. So you know today that this doesn't work. But next time if you say this in a different context, people might laugh because now they know that it's supposed to be funny.
Okay,
It's
so
called
guys,
that.
please do it
It's called that. Thanks for the question. The idea is humor is very subjective. It might work in different places, and keep attempting different humors and you get an idea of what makes things really fun. One last question I'm going to take. Anyone? Go ahead, ask. What you are really asking is why marriage is more difficult than just relationships. You have time to go back home and then think about it and then come back and handle the situation. In marriage, you stay in the same room and there's no place to make mistakes. The point is that if you attempt humor, start writing humor, then you will at least practice something. And more than writing, observe others' humor. When somebody laughs at somebody's joke, just observe what happened here, what made it funny, and then probably try something similar. Because if somebody said something and it laughed and people laugh, that means there is something funny in that, and that misdirection works. And you can try your own version of it depending on your own context, content. The idea is to practice, and then it can become a little easy, but it requires something, a presence of mind, because table topics themselves can be so difficult. Forget about trying humor. Sometimes we might not have anything to say to begin with. So it's about attempting and observing others' humor. I'll take your question later because we are running a little short of time. I'm going to send all of you a feedback for this workshop. I have attempted it first time. I would like to know what works, what I did well. A link will come to you after this meeting through email. Please do respond, give me feedback. If you don't, I'll come to you, chase you. Ask you to give as many jokes as I made here in next meeting. You don't want that, so please do give me your feedback. I would appreciate that. In summary, I have a suggestion for our club how we can learn more humor. And when I present this suggestion, recommendation I read somewhere, that why don't we include a section called observational humor, part of Quizmaster. Quizmaster at the end of his quiz says one question: does anyone has observational humor from today's meeting? Something which they found funny, something which might make people laugh. If somebody has, they could share it, and through that observation we can learn because we have practiced it in real time. To sum it up, Humor is to get your audience's attention, to make them more receptive, and humor is nothing but surprise with misdirection. Things we don't see in this world which fall in place. It's about our own shortcomings, things which are weird about us, about the world, about opinions, about differences, about emotions. To write humor, you can look at something which bugs you and you can change it into humor. You can have different techniques, and then ultimately it's about setup and then punchline. And when you do all this, humor might work, but this is a process of observation and attempting. I said humor is the spice of communication. I would say, remember that spice is not the food. Humor is not the communication, unless you are a stand-up comedian where humor is the communication. The intention of stand-up comedy is humor, but that's not what we do in our speeches. We use it to enhance our message, to support our message, to get people's attention. So I hope your communication will become a little bit more spicy. And please say bye to our co-facilitator. It needs to take TTC to go to Don Valley. That's where it lives. And by the way, my elder brother and my disagreement on who is more humorous has not been settled. But I don't really care because my mom's vote is for me. And that's the reward you get for being a good child when you're young. You all have been a great audience. Thank you so much.